You have been gardening for years. You have trusted the plant tag. You have spent real money on plants that looked perfect at the nursery. And here is what nobody at that register told you. Some of those plants are illegal to own in your state, not theoretically. Actually, right now, illegal with fines, eradication orders, and in some cases, federal criminal liability attached. Tired of buying plants that carry legal exposure you were never warned about? That is not your fault. The nursery model is not required to disclose a plant's legal status in your state. The tag is designed to sell, not to protect you. After reviewing over 40 university studies, USDA APHIS records, state noxious weed databases, and extension trial findings, I have identified 13 plants that are actually illegal to grow in parts of the United States, and exactly what to plant instead. Plant number 7 is the one that will genuinely surprise you. Plant 1, kudzu, Pueraria, Montana, variety lobata. Federal noxious weed. Interstate transport without a USDA APHIS permit is a federal offense, prohibited in at least 21 states. USDA researchers documented 12 inches of growth per day in summer, 3 million acres invaded in the eastern U.S., and up to $500 million in annual damage. The government distributed 85 million seedlings from 1935 to 1953 for erosion control, creating false legitimacy that still circulates. Grow instead. Virginia creeper, Parthenocissus quinquifolia, zones 3 through 10, crimson fall color, feeds birds through winter, legal in every state. Bottom line, federally prohibited for interstate transport, banned in 21 states. Kudzu is a threat you can anticipate. The next plant may already be pushing through your foundation right now. Plant 2, Japanese knotweed, Raynautria japonica. Illegal to sell, buy, or transport in Ohio, Maryland, Connecticut, New York, and over a dozen additional states. Established in 41 states according to USDA records. University of Maryland Extension documented one plant's rhizome network extending across 30,000 square feet, half a football field, in a New Hampshire study site. Eradication requires 3 to 5 years of systemic treatment, sometimes a full decade. Grow instead. Panicum virgatum, Shenandoah, native switchgrass, zones 4 through 9, red fall color, upright form, permanent, legal everywhere. Bottom line, grows 8 inches per day, spreads 70 feet underground, prohibited in over a dozen states. Knotweed is illegal in dozens of states and spreading. The next was just banned and may still be sitting on retail shelves near you. Plant 3, English ivy, Hetera helix, banned for sale in Oregon since 2010 and Washington State since August 2025. Property owners in multiple Pacific Northwest counties can be fined for allowing it to spread into natural areas. Oregon State Extension horticulturist Linda McMahon documented it as a forest choker. Ivy weight weakens tree structural integrity, and its mats eliminate every native understory species. Washington spent millions in volunteer hours removing ivy from urban forests, while that same plant sat legally on retail shelves nearby. Grow instead. Kinnikinick, Arctostaphylos, Uv ursi, native zones 2 through 6, evergreen, drought tolerant, pink flowers, red berries. Washington State Noxious Weed Control Board recommends it as the primary ivy replacement. Bottom line, banned for sale in Oregon and Washington. I want to say something directly to anyone watching this who has trusted a plant tag, who spent real money on something sold as manageable, and then spent years fighting what it became. That experience is real. It is not because you made a poor decision. The commercial model is built around what sells at point of purchase. Legal status in your state, invasive documentation, eradication costs, None of that is good for margins, so none of it makes it onto the tag. Feral Garden exists to close that gap, and if this documented knowledge is reaching you for the first time, subscribe right now, because the next plant on this list is still widely sold today, and it is directly linked to a 90% increase in Lyme disease carrying ticks. Plant 4, Japanese barberry, Berberis thunbergi, banned for sale in Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, and West Virginia. Invasive in 31 states. Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station researcher Scott Williams documented that forest with established barberry averages a Lyme-carrying tick population 12 times higher than forest without it. Trinity College researchers collected 38 ticks in full barberry habitat versus 4 in barberry-free habitat. Grow instead. Aronia arbitifolia, red chokeberry, zones 4 through 9, equal fall color, white spring blooms, zero tick habitat, Connecticut extensions documented preferred replacement. Bottom line, 90% more Lyme ticks in barberry habitat, banned in 6 states. Removing this plant is a public health decision. That tick connection hides inside an ornamental shrub. The next hides the same legal exposure inside the most popular fall color shrub in America. Plant 5, burning bush, Euonymus alatus. Banned for sale in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Delaware, Maine, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Minnesota. Invasive in 25 states. Pennsylvania's ban took effect January 2025. Delaware's in July 2022. Zone 5, Vermont scenario, online order placed, bird eats the bright red berries. U.S. Forest Service researchers document bird dispersal as the primary spread mechanism. Seeds deposited in a nearby woodland. 5 years later, Euonymus alatus saplings, establishing in native understory. The state ban applied the moment the package arrived. Grow instead. Aronia melanocarpa. Autumn magic, black chokeberry, zones 3 through 8. University extension trials document its fall color equaling burning bush in zones 3 through 5. White spring flowers, zero invasive risk. Bottom line, banned in 7 states, invasive in 25. Your possession law applies regardless of where the vendor ships from. 2 banned fall color plants in a row. The next was promoted by conservation agencies and abandoned when the ecological damage became undeniable. Plant 6, purple leucostrife, Lythrum salicaria. Possession is a misdemeanor in Minnesota. Banned for sale in Indiana since 1996, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Wisconsin, and over 15 additional states. Indiana's 1996 law explicitly prohibits every form of purple leucostrife, all cultivars, whether reportedly sterile or not. Because sterile cultivars hybridize with wild populations and produce fertile offspring. Grow instead. Verbena hastata, blue vervain, zones 3 through 8, vertical purple flower spikes, native wetland specialist, University of Minnesota Extension's documented preferred replacement. Bottom line, Lythrum possession is a misdemeanor in Minnesota, banned in 15 plus states, and sterile cultivar tags provide no legal protection. Those were the wetland plants. The next is a shade tree, invasive in 17 states while still sitting on most nursery lots. Plant 7, Norway maple, Acer platanoides, banned for sale in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Classified invasive in 17 states including Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, and New York. University of Maryland extension documents. Norway maple outcompetes native sugar maple regeneration. Its shallow roots starve ground cover of moisture, and its shade tolerance suppresses all native understory species. Norway maple was sold as the tough replacement for dying American elms. It became invasive in 17 states. That is the complete commercial history of this tree, and the plant tag never told you either sentence. Grow instead. Acer saccharum, native sugar maple. Zones 3 through 8, superior fall color, harvestable maple syrup. Supports hundreds of native insect species Norway maple cannot host. Bottom line, invasive in 17 states, banned in 2. 1 native. Sugar maple planted today creates genuine ecological value for a full century. Norway maple is still legal in most states despite 17 invasive listings. The next, one word on the tag tells you everything. Plant 8, Japanese and Chinese wisteria. Wisteria floribunda and Wisteria sinensis. Illegal to sell in Maryland and Wisconsin. Invasive in over 19 states. Both grow 10 feet per year, strangle trees with constricting woody stems, and collapse garden arbors under accumulated weight. Wisteria floribunda, or Wisteria sinensis, set it down. Wisteria frutescens. American wisteria, native from Virginia to Texas, provides identical cascading purple blooms without invasive potential. Wisteria macrostachya, Kentucky wisteria, is cold hardy to zone 3 from Manitoba to Texas. Both are available through specialty native nurseries. Always verify the Latin name. Bottom line, if the tag says floribunda or sinensis, the plant is invasive in 19 states and illegal in multiple. One Latin name is the entire difference. One Latin name determines legality. The next determines whether you face a criminal misdemeanor if you have a backyard pond in the wrong state. Plant 9, water hyacinth, Eichhornia crassipes. Class 1 prohibited aquatic plant in Florida, where possession without a special permit is a second-degree misdemeanor. Banned in Texas, California, Alabama, and over a dozen warm states. It doubles biomass every 2 weeks in warm water, depletes dissolved oxygen, kills fish, and makes waterways impassable. Still sold in legal states and shipped into prohibited ones. The identical commercial mechanism as burning bush. Grow instead. Pontidaria cordata, pickerel weed, zones 3 through 11, native lavender blooms, support specialist native bees, legal in every state. Bottom line, possession without a permit is a criminal misdemeanor in Florida, Texas, and over a dozen warm states. And that aquatic plant carries misdemeanor risk. The next carries something worse, a trip to the emergency room. Plant 10. Giant hogweed, Heracleum mantegazzianum. Federal noxious weed under USDA APHIS. Prohibited with mandatory reporting requirements in New York, Ohio, Virginia, and multiple additional states. This is not an environmental concern. This is a medical emergency plant. The SAP causes photodermatitis equivalent to second-degree chemical burns within 48 hours of skin contact combined with sunlight. New York State DEC maintains an active infestation map and issues public warnings not to touch it without protective equipment. It grows to 14 feet, and seedlings closely resemble Queen Anne's lace. That is how people unknowingly transplant it. If you find it on your property, do not touch it without full protective gear, report it to your county extension office before anything else, and do not mow. Mowing disperses seeds. Grow instead. Angelica archangelica, zones 4 through 9, dramatic height. Umbrella flower clusters, structural presence without the second-degree burns. Bottom line, causes burns equivalent to second-degree injury on skin contact, federally prohibited. Call extension before you do anything. Giant hogweed causes burns on contact. The next was a USDA recommendation until the government reversed course and discontinued its own cultivar. Plant 11, autumn olive, Elaeagnus umbellata. Prohibited in Colorado, Connecticut, New Mexico, and invasive in at least 28 additional states. The USDA's own Jimmy Carter Plant Materials Center, which released the Ella Good cultivar in 1986 specifically for wildlife habitat, formally discontinued its production due to documented invasive spread, a reversal recorded in official USDA NRCS records. Each shrub produces up to 80 pounds of fruit annually, dispersed by birds altering soil chemistry to favor its own expansion. The government promoted it, distributed it throughout the Southeast, then reversed course. Some tags still say wildlife food plant, which is what the government said in 1986 before the evidence overrode it. Grow instead. Ilex verticulata, winterberry holly, zones 3 through 9. Heavy red berry production through winter. Native supports more native wildlife than autumn. Olive, legal everywhere. Bottom line, the USDA promoted autumn olive, then discontinued it as invasive. That documented NRCS reversal tells you everything about whether any tag on this plant deserves trust. Government reversal on autumn olive is in official USDA records. The next made the global top 10 list of the world's worst weeds. Plant 12, Cogon grass. Imperata cylindrica, federal noxious weed. Prohibited in Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, and additional southeastern states. Named by international weed researchers as one of the world's 10 worst weeds. Spreads via wind-dispersed seeds and underground rhizomes. Creates absolute monocultures by excluding all competing vegetation and dramatically increases wildfire intensity due to extremely high silica content. The named cultivar Imperata cylindrica red barren, marketed as ornamental blood grass, can revert to the wild invasive type and is restricted in some states even in ornamental form. If any grass tag reads Imperata cylindrica, check your state's restrictions before it goes in the ground. Grow instead. Schizocarium scoparium, little blue stem, zones 3 through 10, from Manitoba to Texas, red bronze fall color, exceptional wildlife value, drought tolerant, the most documented low-care native grass in extension trial records. Bottom line, federally prohibited, one of the world's 10 worst weeds, red barren still warrants a state restriction check. 13 plants, 13 legal hazards. The last is the plant nobody would ever suspect. Plant 13, lesser celandine. Ficaria verna, also sold as fig buttercup. Prohibited in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Ohio. Invasive in multiple northeastern and mid-Atlantic states. This is the surprise on this list. It looks small, cheerful, completely harmless. Low yellow flowers in very early spring before anything else emerges. That early emergence is the mechanism of damage. Penn State Extension documents its spread along stream corridors and woodland paths throughout Pennsylvania and Maryland, where it forms dense mats before native spring ephemerals. Bloodroot, spring beauty, trout lily can establish. By the time native wildflowers would naturally leaf out, the ground is fully occupied and the growing window is closed. Possession and sale are prohibited in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Ohio. And the plant tag will not tell you any of this. Grow instead. Chrysogonum virginianum, green and gold, zones 5 through 9, native woodland ground cover, yellow flowers. NC State University Extension's documented best low-care woodland floor plant in zones 5 through 7. Bottom line, prohibited in 3 states and specifically destroys the native wildflower communities most woodland gardeners are trying to protect. The principle behind every plant on this list is the same. The commercial model selects for what sells at point of purchase. What never makes it onto the tag is your state's legal status, the eradication timeline, the fine, the ecological damage accumulating beyond your property line. Check the USDA plants database and your state's noxious weed list before buying anything unfamiliar. The Latin name is your verification tool, Wisteria. Frutescens is safe. Wisteria floribunda is invasive in 19 states. Berberis, Thunbergy is banned for sale in 6 states right now. Euonymus alatus became illegal to sell in Pennsylvania in January 2025. Search one plant you already have on the USDA plants database and cross-reference your state's invasive species list before you spend another dollar. Like this video. Subscribe. Hit the bell. Share this. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and which plant surprised you most. If this gave you knowledge you did not have before, hype it. Go plant something legal. Go plant something that lasts.